In today's media-saturated world, advertisements bombard us at home, on the street, and virtually every public place. By the time the average child reaches adulthood, they will have seen 500,000 commercials. 3 years ago, John Forde took it upon himself to create a television show that would deconstruct and analyze the ads we so often take for granted. The result is Mental Engineering, a PBS program broadcast in 50 markets across the country. In addition to hosting the show, he also acts as its executive producer. I'm pleased to welcome him to this table. Welcome. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Charlie.
I mean, first of all, you're getting some attention for this, not only in terms of building an audience, but also in terms of people who write about television taking note.
Yes, quite a bit. The New York Times did a wonderful, dang near a puff piece on us about 3 weeks ago. Yeah.
Tell us, before we talk about what mental engineering refers to, give me a sense of how it got started. I mean, how did you, not someone who had grown up in television, end up hosting a television show?
Well, do you want...
Sometimes I ask the same question of myself, but...
Do you want the truth or the cover story?
Truth.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you both anyway. The cover story, the creation myth is that, and it's true, when I was 4, I begged my parents for a toy airplane because it flew in the commercial.
Yeah.
And I got it and it didn't. I was really heartbroken. The truth of how the show evolved is a little more complex than that. My dad always said, get a job in a good corporation, and you know, I didn't say, Dad, that's an oxymoron. I probably should have said that. But it took me a long time to figure out what a corporation really is. And it wasn't until college when I came across the Devil's Dictionary, which defined a corporation as an ingenious legal device designed to extract personal profit without the burden of personal responsibility. And I just thought that was absolutely brilliant.
Profit without responsibility.
Yes, limited liability. And in the early 90s, I drove a school bus for 18 years. I was very accustomed to hanging out with people who were, the working poor, basically. And at that point, what seemed to me to be the power elite started talking about personal responsibility. We've got to have more personal responsibility. And I thought, these are the only people who by law don't have any. And I just took it upon myself to do something about it.
Now, which version is that? That the real version?
That's the real version.
Okay, so what do? You take it upon yourself to do something about it, and you go do what?
Started at cable access, and where all you do is you pay for tape, and we paid for food because craft services are the most important people on the set. Feed them well and they'll keep coming back. Made 18 shows, and then people said, it's really good, you got to do something. And my parents had given us some money over the previous 3 years, about $50,000, and I spent all of it to make video. I mean, they said, this is an investment, do with it as you will, and I invested it all in, the story has all the earmarks of a boondoggle, a classic boondoggle, but it's working.
And where do you want to take it, other than 300 markets?
Well, I would say 300 markets is a pretty good goal.
Well, you've got 250 to go.
We just completed our second professional season now, and I think that we'll reach something between 100 and 150 stations. But as far as the evolution of the show, we pretty much nailed it from the very first segment. We knew what we wanted to do, and that's just to talk very honestly about how commercials use psychology and what the messages are that they send about status, about rank, about how to live.
There are some shows that have originated on public television and on commercial television. I think about Roger Ebert and the movie review program that he does. Is this a commercial show?
No, that's
commercials?
I think that's one of the real beauties of this. Yeah, they lost Siskel and Ebert. They lost This Old House. When I say they, public television.
This Old House is another example.
I think we're making a bid for the soul of public TV. This is the one show that can never play on commercial networks. For a couple of reasons. Certainly there's the legal aspect. Because we're making a show that's primarily educational, we don't need to ask permission to use the commercials. And the other reason's more political. Even if we could get past that legal obstacle, if you did the show for the Comedy Central or somebody like that, the show would be inevitably watered down. It wouldn't be any good.
But it sometimes, or in your mind or in someone's mind, has been compared to politically incorrect.
At the superficial level, it's very much like politically incorrect, yeah. I mean, it's because it's me and 4 panelists. But politically incorrect is a dogma-driven show. I mean, Bill Maher has said that in prep, he pre-interviews people, finds the one position they'll defend to the death, and then he attacks them. Our show is much safer than that. When you've got what I call a phony two-sided show, which is what an awful lot of especially commercial political shows are, no one ever feels...
Two scorpions in a bowl.
Yes. No one ever feels safe enough to speculate in a way that they could be wrong. When they both feel the need for power, you can never reach a moment of reverence. And I think that that's very important to have on the show. You know how it's only in retrospect we kind of have a different perspective on ourselves. It wasn't until John Lennon was shot until I realized I'd modeled my life on his, even though I'm not a musician. And now Alan Alda, I realized that in the role of Hawkeye Pierce, he had fun, he had political passion, and he had reverence. And those are the three corners we try and touch in every show.
Fun, passion, and reverence.
And reverence.
And reverence. Not irreverence, reverence.
Yeah.
Mental engineering. What's that?
It's what they're doing to us. And a lot of people, you know, I'm sure there are a lot of people well embedded in the power structure who would say it can't be done. And that's not true. I mean, simply just say, click, there, someone's taking your picture. You take someone's picture, their heart rate's going to go up a couple beats. People can be manipulated in ways that we don't understand. Like the primary finding of social psychology, I'm going to take one step backwards. I hope you don't want to ask any more questions, because I'm just going to take a big digression here.
Go.
In psychology, there's four theories of human motivation. There's behaviorism, psychodynamics, cognitivism, and social psychology. And
did you get this from driving the school bus?
no, I have a master's in psychology, but I hardly paid attention. Social psychology, I think, is the primary finding of social psychology is the power of the situation has vastly more influence on us than we recognize. There's emotional contagion. The parable of the Good Samaritan was reconstructed. The parable of the Good Samaritan, we're told that there's good people and bad people. And good people help people on the road, and bad people ignore their problems and go by. And the findings of social psychology, that study was actually recreated on that situation was recreated in a study on the campus of Princeton Theology Seminary. And the finding was that it didn't really matter what type of person was in the situation. What matters is how they were primed. Are they in a hurry? Are they not in a hurry? And as people were going to give a lecture, right outside the door, there was a person in need. And there were Confederates in the experiment who primed people on the way in and said, oh, you're late, you got to get there. Or who said, oh, they're running late, you've got an extra 10 minutes. If people had time, most of them stopped.
Right.
If they didn't have time, they went in. It's not about character. It's about the power of the situation. And media and commercials are what drive media are a big part of controlling that.
Tell me how you think, you, as smart as you are, you know, were influenced by commercials and how it impacted on you in a way that's a negative influence. I mean, does it cause you to buy into a kind of beauty culture? Did it cause you to have an internal sort of, I've got to have the latest thing model?
I think that
planned obsolescence.
It wasn't a direct cause. Oh yeah, you remember when I was 14 years old, my identity was tied up in the skis. I had to have the best skis because that way, you know, everyone would think it's a status thing.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's you know, people who watch the show, we've got a couple of interesting wings. I mean, one is the David Horowitz wing, the pro-consumer people, and the other is the Adbusters people who are anti-materialism, anti-Western technology, and they hate each other, but they both like us. Well,
that's good.
I like, you know, if it has a motor, it is good. I love to drive. You know, I would squander the Earth's petroleum resources in a second if it was just left up to my appetites. And, you know, I have a guilty conscience about that, but I think a lot of it was
What would you
good in that
change
way.
then? I mean, what is there a consensus from doing this program about what ought to be changed about ads? Should they be more responsible? Should they have more sensitivity to the welfare of children? Or, you know, I could continue this list and you might say all of the above, but in your mind,
I think the main thing is to educate children. I mean, we're trying to educate adults, but I think educating kids about media literacy is hugely important. And kids are now bombarded with commercials. I mean, everyone's ideal target market is Barney. If you can get kids at age 1 to recognize your logo, I mean, you've got power for life.
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Great to have you here.
Thanks, Charlie.
My thanks to John Forde, executive producer and host of Mental Engineering, seen on public television stations in various markets across the country. Check your local listings. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.